So, okay. Spät und mannisch, gut. Okay. Nett. Okay. Spielen Sie nicht, wenn Sie müde sind? Was? Warum nicht? 16 Minuten? Bitte legen Sie Müll an den entsprechenden Platz. Benutzen Sie einen Aschenbecher für Zigarettenkippen und Asche. Passieren Sie 15 Minuten nach jeder Stunde. Mache ich fast. Ja, mach mal ja, mit unserer Pause eigentlich fast grob. Wenn Sie sich unwohl fühlen, beenden Sie sofort das Spiel. Okay. Mhm. Gucken. Gut, während das Zeug installiert. Was gibt's denn Schönes? Lesen wir mal. Ja, könnt hinkommen. Lesen wir mal eine kleine. Lesen wir mal eine kleine Metal Gear Solid Creepypasta. Ist auf Englisch. Außer es gibt eine deutsche. Moment. German. Na, finde ich auf die Schnelle nicht. Gut. Na, dann lesen wir. Lesen wir mal. Werden das Zeug installiert. True Power heißt sie. I've stopped being able to count how many days that it's been since it happened. I've always been a huge fan of Metal Gear Solid. A lot of people would say that makes me an idiot, since Kojima's writing pisses people off, and that's somehow my fault. They are my favorite because my older brother used to play them when they first came out, and he let me watch. and I've always wanted to be like him. He's dead now. I guess I'm going to fulfill my dream. Oh, One day, when I got out of school a few hours early because of a fire in the cafeteria kitchens, I went to my local pawn shop, which sometimes carries the odd gem. School was going to be over soon, and I'd been saving up my money to get something to treat myself with. Recently, someone had sold their boxed copy of Subsistence, the special edition of Metal Gear Solid 3. It's almost a collector's piece at this point, when it has the shrink wrap still on. So I don't know why someone decided to pawn it off at our local junk shop. However, it was being sold for the cheaps, and I wasn't going to just let it pass me by. I got it home and tried to open the box. It was strangely dusty, but I popped the disc into the console anyways. Some of the dust got inside my eyes, and then also into my mouth. When I turned the console on, I was greeted by the Konami logo from Metal Gear Solid 1. Was hast verpasst? Lost Episode? Nicht ganz. Wir lesen eine Metal Gear Solid Creepypasta, weil Metal Gear Solid 4 muss ich noch irgendwie installieren. When I turned the console on, I was greeted by the Konami logo from Metal Gear Solid 1. Strange, because Konami games stopped using the Police Nords jingle by the time that Subsistence was released. The game opened to the save menu, and the only file there had a picture of Psycho Mantis. Out of morbid curiosity, I opened the save. Psycho Mantis was breaking the fourth wall as per usual. Moment, was? Psycho Mantis ist in Metal Gear Solid 3? Aber der war da doch noch gar nicht geboren. What? Still, I wasn't sure what he was doing in a copy of Subsistence. By all rights, he shouldn't have even been born yet. Meine Rede, ja. And I wasn't sure how exactly a hacked MGS3/MGS disk had gotten into a sealed Subsistence box. In fact, the dust had been strange as well. It wasn't as though the game was that old. Once Mantis began to speak, he wheezed in his characteristic way as he floated in his office. This isn't a trick, you know. It's real power. Jeez, everyone and their mom had heard of a dual shock, right? Except he didn't just ask me to set down my controller. He also asked me to stand up straight. I did, because what the hell, right? There's no harm in doing silly shit for a video game when nobody's around to see you looking like a dumb asshole. I was standing there in my living room when suddenly my arm jerked up of its own accord. Like someone had tied a rope to my wrist and had yanked it. I could feel my shoulder pop, and I had to bite my lip to not cry. I see my psychokinetic powers are able to work, even though I'm not physically present to control you. I've no hands to move you with, but you aren't the one moving your right arm, and now your left. He flicked his right hand up towards the screen of the top of the screen, and my wrist rose violently to meet the other one. Now touch your toes. The cruel fact about being a nerd is that even though I'm not that old, I don't have good flexibility in my muscles. Ja, Flexibilität hat man auch normalerweise nicht in den Muskeln. Aber egal. I couldn't help but cry at that point as my hands reached out below my knees to where it felt like the backs of my thighs were on fire, but then kept reaching. The point of this isn't to be your personal fitness regiment, of course. Mantis seemed to be amused by my attempts to straighten up again. However, my muscles seemed to lock up whenever I tried. The point is that you are now under my control, and nothing more than a pathetic puppet. Now, what am I going to do with my new toy? Mantis's voice was dripping with disdain. Let me read your mind. He paused thoughtfully and seemed to strike on something. My mind was filled with the image of the pistol my mother kept in her bedside drawer. I'd seen it once, but I've always been afraid to ask her why she has it. Had it. It's still so hard to think of her is dead, even though I had to drag her out of the computer room myself, so that she wouldn't be staring at me as I typed. I deserve it, but I just can't stand the judgment. Gert, you know what to do, don't you? You've played video games, right? Like Call of Duty. Oh no! He crossed his arms as I opened my mouth to speak. That's your brother's, isn't it? Well, you've seen him play. It's easy. Point. He pointed at the television screen that separated us. And shoot. He fired the imaginary gun, and my legs were seized with the compulsion to walk. My brother was homesick that day. Well, that's what he'd told our mom, but really he had gotten behind for a school assignment and had stayed home to finish reading The Catcher in the Rye and write a paper. Maybe if he'd been less lazy, he wouldn't be dead. I need to take a minute after I typed that. I'm not sure if it was me or him that did, but I feel like I'm going to throw up. My parents both worked in the same workplace, and they drove to and from work together. He hasn't let me clean the blood off my hands. The keyboard has stopped being sticky at least. It feels like it's covered in dry, tacky dust. I know if I look down, it'll just be a smear of rust crusted on. I don't want to. He made me. Just now. It was. After he'd made me do what I did, he set me down to speak one last time. Our little experiment is over. I've collected the psychometric nanomachine data the Patriots needed. He looked at his gloved hand, pretending to examine his nails. But now is where the fun part starts. I wonder, will the guilt eat you alive? You still have a few rounds left in that gun, you know. I'm going to die in a few days, anyways. Whenever I try to turn the faucet on, I can't put my hands in the water and can't dip my head to the stream to drink. I can't even walk into the kitchen. There's only one thing that I think he'd let me eat. But I'm not going to eat them. I refuse to be a monster, even if he made me one. I'm not sure if I can stand to die of thirst, though. My throat hurts so much. I've heard that in the shade, a human being can last a whole 7 days without water. I don't want to find out if that's true. Why haven't the neighbors come to check on me? Didn't anyone hear the gunshots? If you're reading this, please come to the address below. I don't know if you'll be able to make it in time. I don't know if I'm strong enough. This Word document was discovered at the scene of a grim murder-suicide, providing an unfortunate context to the bloody scene. While it sounds like the ramblings of someone unable to accept their actions, I was struck enough by the mention of the Patriots to make a copy of the file and post it here. It feels almost wrong to be posting it even as the boys and girls in the lab are processing the evidence in the file. Still, the longer I keep the file on my computer instead of out on the web, the more I worry someone will discover I stole evidence. Ziemlich miese Creepypasta, keine Kommentare. Tja. Wie weit ist denn das Spiel? 2 Minuten noch, okay. Ich meine, warum muss es denn Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence sein und dann halt Psycho Mantis Zeug? Hätte der nicht einfach, was weiß ich, eine alte PlayStation 1 Kopie von Metal Gear Solid verwenden können für die Geschichte? Ja, der Fakt, die Tatsache, dass, oder der Punkt, dass Mantis mehr oder weniger irgendwie halt tatsächlich irgendwie eine größere Kontrolle irgendwie hat, ist etwas, womit man was anfangen kann, ja. Aber nicht so. Das ist halt wieder, ja, das ist halt so in der Art ist halt Zeug, das ich zumindest halt schon oft gelesen habe. Irgendwas, irgendein Medium. Oh, irgendein Medium, das halt jemanden beeinflusst und bla 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 und der bringt dann auf einmal alle um und ja. Um was ging es überhaupt? Da ist ein Typ, der hat in einem Laden Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence gekauft und da war irgendwie eine Speicherdatei. Warum auch immer, weil eigentlich die Spielstände nicht auf dem Spiel selbst, sondern eigentlich auf der Konsole gespeichert werden. Das macht schon mal absolut keinen Sinn. Oder? Moment. Metal Gear Solid Subsistence. Ah nee, ist PlayStation 2 ernsthaft? Okay, dann, ja gut, dann Memory. Jawohl. Ja, das wird nicht im Spiel gespeichert. Das wird dann auf der Memory Card gespeichert. Das macht trotzdem keinen Sinn. Ja, jedenfalls ist da irgendwie ein Spielstand mit Psycho Mantis als Bild, irgendwie so. Ähm, und der lädt das dann und auf einmal ist der irgendwie in dem Büro von Psycho Mantis von Metal Gear Solid 1. Aus irgendeinem Grund. Und ja, Psycho Mantis übernimmt da oder halt, ja, zwingt ihn sozusagen mehr oder weniger durch seine Psychokräfte dazu, seinen Bruder und seine Eltern umzubringen und so weiter. Und das war's. Also so eine Stinkstandard, absolut standardmäßige Creepypasta.
Kept you waiting, huh?
Ah! So, jetzt aber zum eigentlichen Spiel. Ja, viel werden wir nicht spielen. Weiß nicht, so. Jetzt noch, weiß nicht, halbe Stunde, dreiviertel Stunde, sowas. Mal schauen. Bubel. Ah. Okay. So, denn für extra. Nice. Keine Extras. Danke, Konami. Ich nehme zumindest mal an, die sind dran schuld. Ja, Missionsbesprechung. Oh, oh. Okay, Moment. Mission Briefing. Ja, gucken wir's halt mal an.
Only 2 eggs today? Solidus must have taken the day off.
Hm?
7, 8, 9, 2, 5, 9, 0, 3, 6, 0, 3, 3, 0, 5, 3, 0, 5, 4, 8, 8, 2, 4, 4, 6, 6, 5, 2.
The Manhattan incident triggered a serious public backlash. Now the U.S. has to think twice before intervening militarily in other countries' affairs. This has fueled a push towards military privatization, with PMCs at the heart of that movement.
PMCs? Private military companies.
That's right. PMCs have no basis in nations or ideologies. They are private enterprises, driven by profit. In addition to dispatching mercenaries to war zones, they secure weapons and train local soldiers. They're contractors for war itself, and business is good. Their clientele includes developed nations like the U.S., rebel factions looking to seize power by force, smaller countries lacking armies of their own, even terrorist groups. They're in the Americas, Asia, the South Pacific, Europe, Africa, the Middle East. The rise of the PMC has spawned a war by proxy, and it's spreading across the globe.
They're
Sonny, we'll eat them later, okay?
Every age has its mercenary. These PMCs are nothing new. We've been dealing with them since before the turn of the century.
No, Snake. They're nothing like the mercenaries of the past.
They're ready.
Sorry, I'm a little busy right now.
The Pentagon's new battlefield control system has produced a decisive difference between hired guns and the PMCs of today. The system was developed by Arms Tech Security.
Arms Tech? You mean AT Corp?
Yeah. In recent years, AT Corp has shifted focus from weapons development to security tools. And since the establishment of AT Security, business has been booming. The system makes it possible to integrate not only micro-level information on individual soldiers and units, but also macro-level information about field conditions and order of battle.
So they finally achieved total real-time battlefield control.
That's right. And as a result, the global presence of PMCs has grown explosively. Truth is, the rise of system-controlled PMCs has led to a dramatic decline in civilian casualties and human rights violations on the battlefield.
A cleaner, safer battlefield. Makes for nice propaganda.
The fuck? What?
Snake! You were smoking again, weren't you? This is a non-smoking flight.
Edge.
There's more. State governments and rebel groups can't match the maintenance price of standing forces. PMCs, by comparison, are reliable, easy to use. It wasn't long before everybody had them on the payroll. And, as a result, regular armies began to decline worldwide. It's hard to believe, I know, but PMCs are beginning to overtake conventional armies in terms of scale. Nowadays, it's the PMCs who serve as standard battalions. They already make up 60% of all combatant forces in zones of conflict.
60%?
The fact is, the world now depends largely on PMCs for waging its wars.
I thought it was the UN that authorized the PMCs in the first place.
The US abstained from voting on that resolution. In effect, Washington was endorsing PMCs without ever revealing its true intentions. Until they got wind of the uprising, that is.
Hello,
The
Chris.
US has exported too much military power. And now, she's paying the price.
That's exactly it. America has now turned war into a form of economic activity. Analysts are calling it the war economy, in that it's picking up the slack for the downward-sloping oil market. But I, for one, don't intend to simply stand by and watch it happen. For the PMCs, market expansion entails fanning the flames of war. It means more refugees.
War orphans. Child soldiers.
Yes. Even as PMC soldiers get more specialized, they're also getting younger.
Mercenaries spun off from state armies. Unmanned weapons. Child soldiers.
Hey, den kenn
Proxy
ich.
battles in a new Cold War.
There are hundreds of PMCs in business worldwide, and their numbers are growing. Currently, 5 of them are big enough to be labeled global powers, 2 in the US, and 1 each in the UK, France, and Russia. Reconnaissance has revealed that those 5 PMCs are run by a dummy corporation that acts as a single mother company. This mother company embodies the 5 largest PMCs. Her name is Outer Heaven.
What?
Outer heaven. You mean
That's right. It's Liquid.
liquid?
He's taken command of this immense army and is now preparing to unleash an insurrection.
I watched him die.
His will lives on, in the body of the man once known as Ocelot. He aims to fan the flames of war even higher, to create the perfect world once envisioned by Big Boss.
The one world in which soldiers will always have a place.
He must be stopped, before it's too late. Do you understand, Snake?
Huh?
Any means necessary. Just stop Liquid's insurrection. Even if it means
Killing him. You want Liquid dead? Isn't that right, Colonel?
I know. This isn't justice. It's a covert assignment. A hired hit. A wet works op targeting the head of a major multinational corporation.
Why me?
Because of the military might of the PMCs and the effect they have on the economy. War is to the 21st century what oil was to the 20th. The pillar that supports the global economy. You'll recall a rather alarming report issued by that American think tank during the Cold War. One that described a new model for perpetual war. What we're facing now is a whole new ballgame.
Iron Mountain's Delphi technique.
That was fiction. It existed only on paper. The reality is far more serious. The global community is concerned, but they're all too afraid of the war economy collapsing to do anything about it. The UN, too.
Sounds pretty self-serving to me.
Snake. This mission isn't an order from Washington. Not like the old days. And it's not something the UN can officially sanction either. But we can't just look the other way, while Liquid plots this insurrection. If we fail to act, he'll become the greatest threat the world has ever faced. Snake. You're the only man I can trust.
Fine. Let's hear it.
Our intelligence on Liquid's uprising originally comes via reports from U.S. Special Forces, who were mobilized after we at the UN reported our findings. They're tracking Liquid's movements. About 18 hours ago, he was spotted in the Middle East.
There's a rebel army in the Middle East, made up of ethnic minorities, waging civil war against the regime in power.
The core of that regime's army is provided by one of the PMCs under Liquid's control.
What about the rebels?
The local militias have hired small numbers of operators as trainers and field
Mix,
commanders.
yeah.
And of course, they've got help from the local
Rum
PMCs.
und Cola.
Right. A proxy war between hired guns.
PMC versus PMC. A quagmire of war. All too typical victims of the new world economy. Snake, you'll be sneaking into the conflict zone via transport truck, disguised as one of the rebel army's hired
Wieso höre ich denn nur im
operators.
linken Ohr was?
Your first objective is to make contact with our informants, Rat Patrol Team 01. They'll be expecting you.
Rat Patrol, huh? They sound sneaky.
They're a special forces team assigned to the Army's PMC Investigation Unit, CID.
CID. Real rats of the Army.
No. I can vouch for them personally.
Friends of yours?
You could say that. Transportation to the area will be provided under cover of a UN humanitarian aid mission, with support from the US military. From there on, though, you'll get no protection, and no guarantees from anyone. And you must not leave behind any evidence of your involvement in the area, let alone that of the UN. If word of this ever leaked out, it would spark a global firestorm. Snake. do this for me? Will you terminate Liquid?
I'm not like the PMCs. I don't need your money.
Thank you.
But if you're going to spark something, spark this.
Es spielt übrigens 5 Jahre nach dem Metal Gear Solid 2.
I'll start my own fire.
Und ich bin mir sicher, es wird erklärt, ziemlich sicher, es wird erklärt, warum Snake so alt aussieht, aber um grundsätzlich Verwirrung vorzubeugen. Der sieht so alt aus, weil wegen dem Fox-Die-Virus, das er in Metal Gear Solid 1 gespritzt bekommen hat. Liquid Snake Solid Big Boss. Ja, wir machen einfach, weil Metal Gear spiele ich wegen der Story, nicht wegen dem. So. Nicht ganz wahr. Aber dann weiß ich selbst nicht. 100 Pro Bescheid. Teil 4, nicht 3. Ja. Weil wir die ganzen Spiele in Timeline-Reihenfolge spielen, nicht wie sie rausgekommen sind. Und Teil 3 ist von der Timeline her das allererste Spiel. Also es spielt von der Story her als allererstes, und Teil 4 sind wir jetzt das von der Haupt Dings, wo es jetzt am Ende im Endeffekt von der Story.
Why don't you just put down those papers and pencils, and I want you to follow along with us. It looks like
It's fucking raw.
I can't wait another
Fast. And I mean real fast. Really intelligent creatures. Really.
Oh God. I know that one.
Oh, I doubt that.
Oh gosh. A. B.
Verkackt.
Drives you. What?
Nein. Ich will gucken.
Well, you know,
Der Typ,
say my dream project.
der Typ übrigens, das ist David Hayter, der Voice Actor von Solid Snake. Jetzt haben wir das ganze Interview verpasst, ernsthaft. Fünften Teil habe ich schon gespielt. Der kommt timeline-mäßig nach Peace Walker. Timeline ist Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solid... Gut, da kann man sich streiten. Entweder ist Portable Ops. Manche Leute sagen, das ist nicht Canon. Manche Leute sagen, es ist Canon. Ich habe es nicht gespielt, weil es das nur für PSP, glaube ich, gibt und so. Und ich das nicht streamen konnte. Auch mit Emulator nicht. War nicht besonders angenehm. Dementsprechend habe ich es nicht gestreamt. Danach kommt Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Da haben sie zum Glück ein HD-Remake für die PS3 gemacht. Danach, nach Peace Walker kommt Metal Gear Solid 5. Danach kommt Metal Gear. Danach kommt Metal Gear 2. Danach kommt Metal Gear Solid 1. Danach kommt Metal Gear Solid 2. Und danach kommt das jetzt, Metal Gear Solid 4. Timeline und Story in der ganzen Metal Gear-Reihe ist mehr als verwirrend. Ja, und ansonsten, ja, Metal Gear Solid 4 ist ein Spiel, das relativ, also zumindest im Vergleich zu den anderen Metal Gear Spielen ziemlich unbeliebt ist. Weil es auch sehr viel storymäßig in einer Art irgendwie kaputt macht oder halt Sachen kennen macht, die halt irgendwie denen die Fans nicht gefallen.
War has changed.
5 nicht auch so ein Hassteil. Kommt drauf an, also
It's no longer about nations, ideologies, or ethnicity. It's an endless series of proxy battles.
schwer zu
fought by
sagen.
mercenaries and machines.
Also von der Story her fand ich 5 eigentlich hat ganz gut reingepasst. Ja, was bei 5 problematisch war, dass es teilweise eigentlich dazu da war, Lücken zu schließen und Fragen zu beantworten, aber halt gleichzeitig auch irgendwie wieder hat dann letztendlich gleichzeitig auch wieder Fragen aufgeworfen und so weiter. Und dass es letztendlich halt nicht zu 100% beendet wurde. Mission 51 von Metal Gear Solid 5 ist bekannterweise nicht im Spiel. Gibt es ein YouTube-Video darüber. Ist dann halt auch wieder so eine Frage zwischen Story, was wirklich erzählt wird, und Bedeutung. Heißt, es kann tatsächlich sein, dass zum Beispiel Mission 51 von Metal Gear Solid 5 nie geplant war, vollständig im Spiel zu haben, sondern halt schon immer geplant war, dass das so eine geschnittene Episode sozusagen ist. Weil es halt zu einem gewissen Teil zum Konzept passt. Aber das ist halt dann wieder so eine Art von Diskussion zwischen zwischen kommerziellem Produkt, Spiel und grob gesagt Kunst oder halt einem etwas, das über oh, was? Ich kann ab 18 Jahren. Ja, das Spiel hier ist ab 18. Und Level 8, Glückwunsch. Ja, Metal Gear Solid 4 ist ab 18.
surrounded! Damn it, they've got us surrounded! We're being followed! Use the RPGs! Everyone, keep cool! Get a hold of yourself!
Snake, the fighting between the PMCs and the militia is heating up. We'd better practice those basic controls now, while there's still time.
Okay, gibt's irgendwie... Okay, speichern kann ich noch nicht.
To make a weapon available for use, ready it by selecting weapons from the menu screen.
Was? Okay. Aber ich kann so speichern. Was? Speichern geht nicht mehr über Codec? Bullshit. Naja, bevor wir groß reinkommen, stoppe ich hier lieber erstmal. Und nächste Woche geht's dann richtig los. Jetzt haben wir sozusagen das Intro und das Intro sozusagen abgeschlossen. Und ja, nächste Woche können wir dann eigentlich direkt richtig loslegen.